Hey everybody, welcome to Yarn Yak! Yarn Yak! Yes, this is Carla. Carla is unwell, so we have to have a substitute Carla tonight. That's okay, because I can mess this one's hair up. I'm just kidding. I miss you! Welcome to Yarn Yak. I'm Kimmer from the Stash of Baldwin, Wisconsin, and I have a special guest tonight. Tonight, we have a customer of ours, Lindsay, visiting us to yak about Mosaic crochet. So I have been super curious about this ever since I saw a blanket that she made for a Christmas gift. A Christmas gift last year, right?
Yes. Yep.
It was stunning. It was like trees and it was just beautiful. And I was like, how did you do that? And she told me, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. But you know, LAS store life and all that. And I didn't really have time. And it also looked intimidating to me and overwhelming and all of that stuff. So we're going to talk about Mosaic crochet because guess what, you guys? Look what I did today. I started learning how at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And I'm just saying, not too shabby, huh? Not too shabby. So anyway. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been working on this week. And this will be a brief conversation, let me tell you, because I have been doing no crochet this week until today. I have been busy with administrative nonsense and I need like a week at a beach and maybe a bottle of whiskey and probably a cabana boy or something like that. Not necessarily in that order, but I did get to crochet something today and I'm super proud of myself because I did a very basic mosaic pattern and now I'm like, okay, now I'm looking at Lindsay's blanket, which she'll show you in a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. I bet I can do that. I'm kind of stoked. It's a lot easier than I thought. So that's what I've been working on this week. I've been working on, you know, everything but yarn. What have you been doing? Working?
Working?
You've been crocheting anything? Just this?
No, I actually haven't worked on the blanket in a while. I have had an order for 2 blueies and a bingo amigurumi.
Oh, really?
From the cartoon.
Oh,
so
fun.
I've been trying to crank
So
those out.
you get orders for stuff like that. You get to sell stuff like that. You're really lucky. A lot of people would really like to be able to sell their crochet. But you do really good at amigurumi. I've seen it. So Lindsay's a very accomplished crocheter, you guys. So we're really lucky that she was willing to come on the show and feel self-conscious and semi-embarrassed and be on TV. So make sure you're nice and say welcome, Lindsay, in the comments, and we'll look later because remember, I can't see the comments right now. To talk to us about it because here's the thing. You were just a regular crocheter. You were not like, you didn't take classes, you didn't go to crochet college or anything like that. You just kind of was like, I want to try that. I want to try this and I want to try that. And over time, you've gained some skills. And you discovered Mosaic. Yep. And you were off to the races. So that means that you also can do Mosaic. And the proof is that I can do it. And I don't like charts or math or counting or anything fussy. You guys know that. And I still did it. And it wasn't even that hard. It was actually kind of relaxing. So yeah, it was interesting. So let's talk about Mosaic crochet. Let's talk about it. If you look on the internet and look around a little bit, you will find a whole bunch of techniques for what appears to be Mosaic crochet. And what's interesting about it, when I started doing a little digging with the American Crochet Association, when I started doing a little digging on there, it turns out that there's several things that are called Mosaic, that people call Mosaic, that are actually technically not Mosaic. One of which is tapestry crochet. It's similarly done to overlay, which is the form of Mosaic I did to do this and that you're doing, but it isn't the same. And so there's some confusion about what Mosaic is. And then there are also people who refer to corner-to-corner graphgans as Mosaic, and it's not Mosaic at all.
Oh,
It's not even the same thing.
No, not at
So
all.
graphgans are literally using your square by square by square, and that's a 3 or 3 and 5, you know, stitch set, and you change color. So you have a bazillion ends, as Carla knows all about, with a certain special gift blanket she's working on that is black and white and has, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 million, 100,000 ends on it. I know because I weaved in like half of them and it's still not done. So I'm just saying. We're going to put Carla down now so I can concentrate. Say goodbye, Carla. Say get well soon, Carla. We love you. Anyway, I told you I was a dork. I warned you. So there are some other things that look like it. One of which is are mistaken for it, I should say. One of which is the corner to corner graph GANs, but also there was another thing. So tapestry, and then okay, there's confusion because there's two kinds of mosaic crochet. One is called overlay, which is I'll just keep showing them what I'm doing right now, which is what I did here, and one is called inset. And so the difference is relatively simple. And I'm not going to go into like the huge, like you could read a book about this. I'm just going to give you like the very basic. The difference is that when you do overlay, you do one color per row and you work one row at a time and then you change colors. So your colors generally go from A to B to A to B. If you choose a more complicated pattern, they may go A, B, C, D, A, B, E, F. But the fact is you're using one color per row and it's a single row color change, single row color change. When you do inset, you work in sets of 2. So when you do overlay, which is what this is, you snip your yarn at the end of every row and fasten off. When you do inset, you work 2 rows of a color. And so you work a row, turn, come back, work a second row, then you fasten off and snip your yarn. So it's mathematically a totally different thing, operationally to do it. Overlay is easier to learn mosaic. Overlay is easier to learn first. It's just a little bit simpler way to learn it. So that's the difference, really basically. So it creates really interesting color patterns, as you can see. I had no idea I could do something like that. If I can do this, that means I can make kelpies. That's what makes me really happy. I'm excited to try that. You can do all different kinds of things. You can use different colors. You can make different shapes. You can make animals, letters, much like graph GANs and other things like that. Yep. It is usually preferred over tapestry because you only work one color per row, so you don't have all the complications of switching colors mid-row, carrying yarn, dropping yarn, making sure that you pull up in the right place and drop in the right place. That gets kind of overwhelming. And also your back starts getting messy when you do that. It can, unless you're super like tight and super detail oriented and cleanly crochet. A lot of us are not like that. So the simplest and most visually impactful way, according to the American Crochet Association, I said it that time, to create mosaic is just using 2 colors and working 1 row per color and working your, so how you do it, I'm going to let Lindsay tell how you do it. So anyway, that's it. You start out really simple. Now, I decided that I wanted to make something small before I tried it. I watched a customer of ours, my friend Julie, a couple of weeks ago. We were on retreat and she really wanted to make that. I am not going to be able to remember what it's called, but it's like some kind of Nordic star. It's a really popular mosaic pattern that just came out, I guess.
Oh, okay. Nordic
Star blanket, I think is what it's called. She was like, I'm learning how to do this and because I want to make this blanket. So she did basically the same thing I did. She worked a small sample a couple of times, got the hang of it, and then she started the blanket on retreat. And she was just cruising right away, and she was getting really excited. She was like, oh. She spent the day in the hospital today. Something amazing. Nothing terrible happened. It was voluntary, and she was doing something amazing. So I also want to wish her well in case she watches this later. I hope the day went really well and everything went really well and got where it was supposed to go. And I'm fingers crossed and super excited to hear how everything went. And we love you. So anyway, so she started working on that and she sent me a picture of where she's at right now, which I will post on Facebook probably tomorrow so you guys can see it. It's really, really beautiful. And so I am sort of excited now because I tried it and all the things that I thought were going to be hard about it were not hard about it at all. And it was actually, like I said, it was kind of relaxing. So when you when you started it, did you do a swatch or a small thing first, or did you just dive in on that tree blanket?
I did a swatch first.
You did?
Just because I wanted to get the hang of the process without, I didn't want to start with 200 stitches.
Yeah, and not know what you were doing.
Yeah, I just did a small section of the pattern just to get the feel
So you
for
used the same pattern?
Yep.
And you just did a little section of it?
Yep.
So that's an idea. I was looking for a small project to do. It didn't occur to me I didn't know I could get a bigger pattern and just do a section of it.
Yep. Like
first.
I just did like one chunk of like one repeat.
Okay, so that's an idea.
Yep.
So if you see something, if you've been looking at a pattern and you're like, I don't know if I can do that, how you find out is get the pattern and do a section of the chart.
Yep.
And I said chart. I did. Would you like to see the chart I had to use tonight? This is the chart. It was fine. I was so like overwhelmed. It's not even funny. It was so much easier. I don't like charts that much. And I thought I was going to have to count. I also thought I was going to have to pull my yarn. I didn't understand that you don't pull your yarn along and drop a color and pick up a color.
Yep.
I didn't quite understand how this would work if you're not doing that, but it turns out that you single crochet and then you do it's called a drop down double crochet.
Yep.
And all you're doing is dropping down to the row below and hooking into the front loop of a stitch and doing a double crochet. And that is what makes the patterns. It is really simple.
It is.
It's really simple. It's very exciting. So, it doesn't take tons. I asked Lindsay a whole bunch of questions ahead of time so she would be prepared to do the show. And I myself can answer literally almost all of them now. So it's not that hard, and it doesn't take tons of time.
No.
It didn't take me really, maybe a little bit longer to make this same size coffee cozy if I wasn't doing Mosaic, but only because I didn't know how. And I kept kind of, is this where, okay, I get now. Okay, now I see where you stick that. So I could probably turn around and make this again in maybe half the time.
Yeah.
Just because I get how to read the chart and I understand what I'm supposed to do. The charts have, I know you guys probably aren't going to be able to see this really good, but the charts have blank boxes, and the boxes that don't have anything in them are you single crochet in the back loop. So if you're single crocheting, you're always single crocheting in the back loop.
Yep. Except for the very first and the very last stitch of the row, you just do a normal single crochet through both loops.
Which Lindsay told me tonight, which I did not do on this. And that's one of my little struggle bus spots is I was like, why doesn't this look nice? It's not clean. I don't like it. Well, that's because I was joining a new color in the back loop on the very first stitch. I didn't understand that part that you do a regular single full stitch.
Yep.
Single crochet in the first and the last. So now that I know that explains that frustration. That was basically the only one I was having.
That's good.
So yeah, you cleared that right up for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But yeah, you work your single crochets in the back loop. And what that does is it creates the front loop being open so that when you do a drop down double crochet in an appropriate place, which on the chart is marked with this little X. So it's really easy. Like you don't have to like squint read. You just have to glance. And then the color just shows you what your pattern should be coming out looking like. Okay. So they're not hard to read at all. It's not like what I thought. There isn't a bunch of symbols or anything like that. It's just a grid. It's just a grid. Simple, simple, simple. Yeah, I was very pleased by that. So currently right this minute, we're both, I'm working a version of an envelope border. And I just skipped way ahead, but there's a bunch of different ways to do that too, apparently. And what the envelope border does is it hides, you sandwich all your ends inside it, and you get this clean, see that? My ends are gone right there. Whereas right here, they're still sticking out because I'm right here. And I was like, that is so cool. And I don't care if you do Mosaic or any other kind of crochet. An envelope border is a super useful thing to know how to do. And I think I should do a tutorial on it because that's really cool. I had never heard of it until I started looking at Mosaic. Is that what you did on that tree blanket?
Yeah, I did an envelope.
An envelope border,
envelope
but
border.
different than this one, right?
Yep.
A different kind.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The one I did, you loosely slip stitch. I loosely slip stitch all the way around the blanket.
In the front?
And then, yep.
Okay.
And then once you get that done, you do 2 rows of double crochet into the slip stitches that you just made.
Okay.
On the front and on the back.
Okay.
And then
so you grab the slip stitch from the back side, so first on the front
Yep.
and then on the back.
Yep.
So you, okay, and that creates the 2 pieces.
Yep.
And then you close them up.
And then you just close them up and you just do a single crochet.
Okay.
Together.
So
through both,
that'd be a fun way to
front
get
and
a
the back.
design border going. I mean, you could use different
Yeah.
colors.
Yep.
And you could use a different color yet for the single crochet. Maybe pull a color from your your actual piece design into it.
Yep.
And that'd look really nice too. I like this one because it's all one. I did a double crochet all the way around, just off the edges of the stitches, just like you would if you were putting a border on anything. And now I am coming around the back and I'm working into the bottom of the double crochet from the back. And I'm making another double crochet, and then I just reach over the top and slip stitch across the top of the stitch. And as I go, I just keep scooting the ends. So I lift them up, make the stitch, slip stitch in the top of the front double crochet, and close the ends right up. And I can see this being useful for lots of things.
Yeah.
Doing it that way, because it's literally just 2 rows basically. It's 1 row and then a second round in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And also useful if you want to control your border width.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want your border to get really big.
Yep.
And add an extra 3 inches or so onto your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, this way would be useful. So there's my point is there's more than one way
Oh yeah.
to do an envelope border. And if you've never heard of the envelope border, now you have, and you should totally Google it, because just simply as a crocheter, that is a useful thing to know how to do.
It's really easy.
Yeah, I would definitely put that in your toolbox and get knowing how to do that, because we all hate the ends.
Even
We all
if you
hate
did
them.
like a granny stripe blanket or something,
Yeah,
that
where
would be
you're
good.
dropping color every row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you don't have to weave
Scrap
weave in all your-
blankets. You don't have to weave in all your ends. Just stop at the end of the row, cut it, fasten it off, do an envelope border. Simple, simple, simple. Oh my gosh. It was a super enlightening moment. Maybe I'm the only person in the whole wide world who didn't know there was such a thing as an envelope border. I don't know.
I didn't.
I mean, I've been crocheting for most of my life, and I did not know that. So
I didn't know about it until I did the first mosaic.
until you did Mosaic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you made, how big was that Afghan? Was it like bed size, right?
It was technically a throw, but it was probably
Like twin bed size. It was pretty big when I
twin
saw
bed
it.
size. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
huge.
it was huge.
Yeah.
And that was your first big, your first real Mosaic project. So Lindsay was an overachiever. She started with a more complicated pattern and a much larger piece than any sane person would start with. But she figured it out, and it did turn out absolutely beautifully. But now she's working a new blanket. It's a different design. And you say it's a simpler pattern than the first one you did.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and show them? It's just, I think it's so beautiful. So this is what she's working on right now. And so this is still only 2 colors of yarn. It's a gray and then a color changing blue. And this complicated looking, beautiful pattern is literally worked. If you look at the ends here, you can see her ends, right? There's the blue, there's the gray, every row. She's just changing back and forth from yarn A to yarn B, okay, as she goes, and following this chart. See the X's on her chart? The X's tell you when you do a drop down double crochet. The blank boxes are back loop single crochet. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. 2 stitches. So even though Mosaic looks super complex and like there's a lot to it, and you probably have to know all these magical stick things to do it, you don't. So a beginner with a little bit of practice under their belt could try a simple Mosaic pattern.
Yeah.
Easily. And also a thing that we were talking about earlier that I was surprised by, and you were surprised when you discovered it, is that you get so once you're working a design, you get so that you literally just glance at it and you can see it. You're like 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4. I got this. And you just do the row. You don't have to keep looking at it doesn't seem like you have to
No.
keep looking at your chart.
No, once you get a hang of like the pattern on each row, you just
And I can
keep going.
see that if I was making a blanket out of this pattern, I'd only have to do this whole the whole design.
Yeah.
And then once I started to repeat, I would be like, oh yeah, okay, 2 4 2 4 2.
Yep.
I was singing don't do don't do every time I had to do the drop down double crochet, and I got a couple rows down, and I was like, oh my god, I'm sitting here singing a do song like a 6-year-old, do, and I'm like, I need a friend, I should not be here by myself. So, but it was really actually really interesting, and I'm really happy that I decided to just give it a try. So there's some really cool design generators online too.
Okay.
Where you can like put in a design photo or something like that. Not like the face of your dog or anything, but you can put in some stuff, and it will give you the chart to make it. It will give you tell you what a single crochet is and what would be drop downs to make it. Now, I'm sure you probably can't do anything super complicated, but certainly maybe not on a free. There's free ones, there's paid ones. So I might try that. Let me know if you try it. Let me know if you find a good one. Definitely shoot the page a message and tell us all, because I don't know a lot about it other than that when I Googled it, there was like 3 or 4 different ones. One of them was Pattern Up, which I think is all one word, Pattern UP. That one does Graphgans and Mosaic ones and everything. I don't know if it's free or not, but that one seemed to have like a lot of reviews that were positive about it being easy to use and doing a good job and stuff like that. So if you're curious what the back looks like, let's look at the back of Lindsay's, because hers is orderly. So that's the other thing I like about Mosaic is you get this pretty pattern on the back, this pretty stripy pattern on the back. So even though the design is front facing and you work at the front only, you don't turn and work the back, you still get something out of it, and you don't have a bunch of loopy ends from carrying yarn. Not a bunch of stranding. You don't have anything like that. It's completely solid. So I like that. That I think that's one of probably the biggest selling points of doing Mosaic is you don't have the mess of carrying yarn and the kind of cluttery look of the back. Yeah, and bunchy. Nice and clean. Yeah, it's not bunchy. Like from dragging your ends and crocheting over them and stuff like that. Right. So we already talked about charts being scary for some people. I'm here to tell you I'm one of those people, and this wasn't scary, so we'll move on from that. Did you think it was hard to navigate the chart at first?
At first, I did. I don't know if it was just the pattern that I chose.
Because the one you had was fairly complicated, and it had a lot of repeats in it.
Yeah, and the pattern was more, just like the stitch pattern was not so simple as this one. There was more to
this
it.
One. Yeah. There was quite a bit to it. Yeah, because there was small pieces and then trees and then there was like a leaf. Or I don't know what you would call that, but wasn't there a part of it that went like this and then like that?
It was like a diamond,
like a
kind
fur.
Of shape. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very Christmassy. I've seen it online. You've probably seen it online. It's a like very Christmassy, like Scandinavian looking pattern.
Sholak, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen like just on crochet groups on Facebook. I've seen other people.
You know, I think that didn't you send me a picture of that blanket? Didn't I post it? Or no, we couldn't post it because it was a gift.
Yeah.
Okay, you should send me a picture of that now.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, sometime. You have pictures of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, then you guys can see it. And like I said, I'm sure you've seen it. I actually probably could find the pattern and just post it for you too. So what I was going to ask you, like, what skills did you add to your like toolbox from learning how to do Mosaic? And I was like, man, it's pretty easy other than getting better, being less intimidated about looking at a chart and really actually trying to understand it instead of looking at it and going, you know, so other than that though, I mean,
it was pretty straight.
It's really simple.
And the first pattern, the tree blanket that I did, the pattern that I bought actually had written instructions as well as the chart. So that made it easier because you could look at the written instructions and then kind of look at the chart and, you know, just kind of make the connection when it says like, you know, 3 double crochets in a row. and then you see the 3 X's on the chart, it's like,
Oh.
okay, that's how.
And it probably
the
would have
chart
told me
works.
to do a full stitch single crochet in the beginning and the
Yes.
end of the row. So I didn't have any pattern or any directions or a tutorial or anything. I literally just had this. So there was a few little tricks I missed, but that's okay. Lindsay's cleared it up for me. Now I got it. Now I got it.
Yeah, that pattern
But-
was like it was very well written. It was very detailed, a lot of pictures. They'd even had like a chart you like print out. So when you print out the chart, it had like, because this one had, I want to say it had like 6 different patterns in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you repeated that whole thing twice to get the length of the blanket.
Okay.
So it had like little boxes on the side of the pattern that you could like check it off when you finish, you know, one chunk of the pattern.
Oh.
So it was a little easier to keep track.
It's easier to keep track, easier. So
Yeah.
the pattern itself helped you actually execute it and
Mhm.
not like be like, oh my God, wait, what?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah, exactly. And
Well, I was looking at your chart for this blanket too, and you were explaining to me that, and again, I know you guys can't see this, but on this side is the AB that tells you what color you should be using, which one or two, or if there's more. And then this side gives you a row count. Well, a big chunk of these row counts are shaded and then the rest of them aren't. And I was like, huh. But like Lindsay was explaining to me, this chunk is the part you repeat over and over and over and over again until the piece is pretty close to the length you want. And then this last chunk is what you do to finish it, because it starts out right and this helps it wind back down.
yep, it kind of completes the pattern.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have known what the shaded part was for without written directions.
Yeah.
I would have had to Google that or ask somebody or whatever.
Mhm.
But it sounds like you can get a lot of the answers to your questions, it looks like, on the internet as well. I didn't have any trouble
Yeah.
finding out things that I wanted to know about it once I started. Bella Coco, I think that's her name. She has a really comprehensive a couple sets of posts and tutorials about how to do mosaic. And I got this pattern from Rocco Baby Crochet. She had several basic introductory little pieces that you could use to make like a cozy or coaster, anything, like that to teach you some basic patterns that were free. So, and there seems to be a plethora of free mosaic stuff on the internet.
There's
so,
a lot of free charts.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
The nice thing about, like, I bought both of the patterns that I have, and I think the tree pattern, it's kind of like the more it costs, the more detailed it is.
Yeah.
Like that one was like a $10 pattern,
So
and it had the written instructions plus a chart.
Plus-
and I think
and
it had
then the
videos linked in it.
tutorial videos too.
Yeah.
So would you say that if you're a person, even if you've already done a little bit of mosaic, if you want to try something that's more complex,
Mhm.
don't be scared to pay for a good pattern.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and just why get frustrated if you don't
Exactly.
have to? If you don't have to. But I think for this simpler things to start with, you can probably find plenty of free stuff
Yeah.
to play with on the internet.
Yeah.
Definitely, easily.
Yeah, if you want to just play around, the free patterns are great. But
Yeah.
if you want something big and
Or with
with
a lot
more-
more to the design.
more instructions and stuff, then definitely pay for a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually, I haven't found one for like more than $10.
Yeah. Well, and that,
And-
like we were saying, I know you guys aren't seeing a blanket we're talking about, but that blanket was, the design looked very, very complicated. Now that I understand how you do it, I understand why you were saying this is so easy. You don't understand, it's so easy. But at the same time, that is not beginner mosaic. So Lindsay
No.
was just being a rock star that she started with that one. And once she started, she was like, I'm doing this. I am going to finish this.
Yes. And there were times where I'd have to rip out 5 rows at a time because I made a mistake, and they just,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't catch it until you're a couple rows ahead, and then you're like, wait a minute, why isn't this lining up right? And then you go look, and it's like, oh, I made a mistake 3 rows down.
Especially when your design has so many parts to it.
Yeah.
And you're only seeing it 1 row at a time. So it wouldn't make sense until you were 3, 4, 5 rows
Yeah.
up, where you would be like, wait, why is the top of this tree over here?
Yep, exactly.
I thought this was like the dots for the thing, and it's not. It's the top. Crap, and then you rip it out. So start with something not as complicated as that. Don't do what she did.
Yeah. Start with something a little bit easier.
A little less. Yeah, a little less complicated. I say more complicated. I meant less complicated. Less. A couple of the other questions that I had written down here was like, is there anything special you need in order to do it to make doing mosaic easy? No, you can use any yarn and the appropriate hook. I would keep in mind that much like amigurumi, you're single crocheting, you want your stitches to be, you're making fabric. So this type of crochet is not meant to be holey. It's not meant to be lacy or open at all. So keep that in mind. If you are a looser hooker, you might need to change your hook size with the yarn you want to use to make sure that you're getting something that's fairly dense. I may have gone down a little too much because this this little piece that I made is just slightly buckly and it doesn't really drape at all. If I was making a blanket out of this, I probably would have swatched this, you know, I probably would have pulled out, started over, and went up at least about one hook size. Any more for me, and I would start having, you know, open work in my stitches. But this was just a little bit too tight. But I think it's better for it to be too tight than too loose for this, because the design won't show up correctly if your work is too open. So that's something to keep in mind. But other than that, you need nothing you need nothing special. No. Do you ever have to use stitch markers?
I do. I put a stitch marker at the end when I start a new repeat of the pattern. Okay. Just because then I can just count up the rows, be like, okay, I've done 4 rows already. And then I can just look at my chart and then I can kind of figure out where I'm at.
Okay, smart.
But if you're a beginner and it makes it easier, like if you have like the patterns repeat this way and this way. So if you get to the end of this chunk and it helps, you can put a stitch marker there so that you know that that was the end of a repeat, and then you would just start back here and keep going. And I did that with the other pattern in the beginning just because it was more complicated. Yeah. And it was easier to kind of know where I was, but then once I got the hang of it, then I didn't do that. Yeah. But for this one,
I didn't need one to do this at all.
I just put a stitch marker at the start of a new repeat.
Okay. And that's a good tip though too. Yeah. So that you could just glance back to the row that starts to repeat again.
Yep. Or you could put your chart in like a page protector and then just kind of cross it off with a dry erase marker, and then when you're done with the repeat, just erase it and start
keep
over.
Going. Yeah.
That way you kind of know where you left
off.
So
maybe, depending on how complicated what you're doing is, maybe a holder, you know, like a book holder, to prop your pattern up so you don't just stop what you're doing and pick it up all the time. That might be a useful thing, but not necessary. Like Lindsay said, clear sleeve and a dry erase marker, again, not necessary, but it might smooth things along if you're doing something that's a little more complex than like what I did is pretty simple. But you just basically need a hook, a yarn, and you know, maybe a stitch marker or two, a couple of stitch markers, and your pattern, and you're off to the races. So this would be, we were talking about this before the show. I would love to do something just even this simple, a blanket form, and use a neutral color as a background, and then use like a hyper variegated yarn that just changes color like every 2 inches, I think, and do a design like what Lindsay's doing on this blanket. I think that'd be really, really pretty. I think it would be really pretty. And I love the color changing blues you're using on that blanket too, on the gray. I think it's just beautiful. So yeah, this is definitely not what I thought it was. It was far more enjoyable, far more relaxing than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be really tense trying to get this done, and I wasn't at all.
No, it's really fun.
Not at all.
It's addicting.
Yeah, I'm kind of twitchy. I want to like, I wonder what I kind of want to start something else, but with all my time that I have to crochet right now. But I kind of do. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do small designs and make a bunch of coffee cozies just to play around with it, just because it's fun.
Posters would be fun, or like a hot pad, you know. Yeah. Just use cotton
absolutely
instead of acrylic or whatever. And
yeah, this was enlightening. So I'm excited. I'm really glad that that I took the second to, well, and it's because of the show, because I was like, okay, Lindsay's coming. I gotta make something. I gotta learn a little bit about this before we do the show. So I did, and I'm really glad that I did. So yeah, I really want to thank you too for coming on and showing us this and talking about it. I know it's a little weird to like
Be on
go
camera.
go on camera. She's never done this before, you guys, so I think she did great.
Thank you.
You did great. I am gonna have my trusty assistant over there get me the giveaway bowl. We're not doing the deserted island question tonight because we don't have Carla. For real, look at her head bobbles. We don't have Carla for real. That yarn bowl sitting there full of slips. I need that, sweetie. If you just hand it, you won't be on camera. Thank you. So we're going to do a giveaway, and the giveaway is going to be for, I forgot what hold on. It's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. What did I say I was doing? The giveaway today is for a macrame keychain holder and a pin, a sash pin. So I am going to pull a slip. And if you remember from past shows, the rules, I will pull a slip. The slips are from our last show to this show. Normally that's 1 or 2 weeks. So this is 2 weeks of slips. And you have until the end of this next, run until the next show. So it'll probably be 2 weeks to come in and get your prize. Once we do the next show, if you didn't come and get your prize, you don't get it. Somebody else can get it. So we redraw. When we draw for a new prize. Okay, and your prize goes back in the pot. So watch Yarn Yak and see if you won. Anyone who makes a purchase online or in the store gets their name written down in here. So I'm gonna let Lindsay draw. She might maybe draw her own name, but that's okay because she's a special guest. And I'm mixing them up really good. So we'll see what happens. So all you got to do is reach your hand in here and just make sure you only get one. So if you have to swish it around a little bit to make sure you only have one. Okay, who wins? Can you read my chicken scratch?
Karen Morrow.
Karen Amaro. Karen, you won the giveaway tonight. So you've got a macrame, and I'll let you pick what color you want, a macrame wristband keychain holder, and a stash acrylic pen that you can put on a project bag. Congratulations, Karen. You have until my next Yarn Yak show to pick that up. I know that you generally do online orders and send your spouse in to pick them up. So if he comes in, I will make sure and give him your prize for you. Okay, so there we have it, and congratulations to her. We hope you enjoyed tonight's Yarn Yak episode. Thanks so much for joining us, Lindsay.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It was fun. You can ask us yarn questions anytime by emailing us at AskYarnYak@gmail.com. Your question could be an episode of Yarn Yak. Be sure to visit our website and check out our Yarn Yak page, as well as all the items and products that we sell here at The Stash. The website is shopthestashbusters.com. You can also find us on YouTube. And subscribe and ring the bell. That way you get notified whenever we upload anything, whether it's a Yarn Yak episode, a tutorial, or who knows what. It's hard to say what could get uploaded on our YouTube channel. If you like content like this, you can support us by going to our Buy Me a Coffee page and buying us a coffee. And let me tell you, ladies, I need coffee. I need so much coffee right now. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed it, and you can watch your newsletter to find out when the next Yarn Yak episode is going to be. That'll be at the bottom of your newsletter. If you don't get a newsletter, go to our website, scroll down the homepage, and sign up for it. We send one thing on Tuesdays at 5:30. We do not advertise outside of that newsletter. We don't send you anything else. So I hope you had fun. We'll see you next time. Happy yarning, my friends. Bye. Bye-bye.